Welcome back to the Daughter Arise channel. My name is Yvonne, and this platform is all about sharing news and content surrounding childhood sexual abuse. I am somebody myself that went through sexual abuse as a child. I went through many things in the aftermath. It's been a 30-year journey to healing and recovery. I see myself as somebody that is more than a survivor. That is the terminology that is given to somebody that has experienced a traumatic event. I see myself as a thriver and overcomer, living my life on my terms. I use this platform to share my experiences, my story, things that I went through on my journey to recover, to inspire, to empower and give hope to others who may be on their journey, or other survivors and victims who have yet to find their voice. I also share news stories that I come across from around the world surrounding childhood sexual abuse, and also as well I use this platform to give voice to other survivors' stories. That could be something that I see in the news. Very shortly it will also be survivors sharing on this platform their stories to encourage other people. It is all about empowering survivors, raising awareness and educating people on the effects of childhood sexual abuse. If it is your first time to this channel, please be sure to check out my other videos. Hit the thumbs up button if you like the videos, and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be informed of any new uploads that I do. And if you have come on this channel before and you've never subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up and the bell so that you can also be notified of any new videos. So today, oh my gosh, I haven't been so eager to jump on and do a video in ages. I don't mean that in a bad way, just because it is very, very hard sometimes to do videos. To get on camera sometimes it can feel a little bit hard, but you know, I push through and I do it because, you know, I like to overcome challenges and just to face fears head on. Today, as I said, I was really excited to get on camera because I found out a little bit of news. I don't know if you've heard about it, probably in America you have, but over here, you know, we don't really hear a lot of what's going on with child sexual abuse cases over in America. Usually I have to jump on the internet and have a search and a look through to see what is actually going on. But as I said, I came across something that was very, very exciting, very, very big for survivors of childhood sexual abuse. So recently, on August the 14th in New York State in America, they have passed through a new law on childhood sexual abuse reporting, and I'm going to share with you a bit about the story of this new law and what it means for survivors, and then I will be back with the rest of my commentary. The long and bitter battle for legislation that would allow New York sex abuse victims to sue the Roman Catholic Church and other organisations for monetary damages ended with victory on August the 14th when the state Senate passed the Child Victims Act. The new law does away with the statutes of limitation that have prevented some alleged abuse victims from going to court to seek damages, and it includes the one-year look-back window that will allow others who weren't able to sue in the past to file fresh claims. The Child Victims Act will allow child victims to seek prosecution against their abuser until the age of 55 in civil cases, a significant increase from the previous limit of age 23. For criminal cases, victims can seek prosecution until they're 28. The bill also includes a one-year window during which victims of any age or time limit can come forward to prosecute. A statute of limitations is the amount of time one has to bring a lawsuit from the time of injury or other grounds for a lawsuit, either criminal or civil. Statutes of limitations vary from state to state and from claim to claim. The reason why the statute of limitations is important in child sexual abuse cases is because research shows that people who experience sexual abuse in childhood do not disclose until adulthood. Therefore, narrow statutes of limitation can prevent the punishment of perpetrators on the criminal side and prevent redress on the civil side. To summarise what the new legislation includes, it increases the amount of time during which perpetrators of these crimes can be held criminally accountable, allows victims of these crimes to commence a civil lawsuit at any time before they reach the age of 55 years, provides victims whose claims have been time-barred a new opportunity for their day in court, it limits the need to file a notice of claim for sexual offences committed against a minor, Authorises the Office of Court Administration to promulgate rules and regulations for timely adjudication of revived actions. Stephen Jimenez, a sexual abuse survivor. Passage of the Child Victims Act is an exhilarating and empowering moment for those of us who have been waging this battle in Albany for a dozen years. Senator Rosenthal said, "Today, in passing the Child Victims Act, we are finally telling the survivors the state of New York and the full force of its law is behind you and you will not be turned away. This is a historic day for New York as lawmakers choose children over predators." The long and bitter battle for legislation would allow New York sex abuse victims to sue not only the Roman Catholic Church, but organisations such as the Boy Scouts, Jehovah's Witnesses, and other organisations for monetary damages. Cardinal Timothy Doolin, who is Archbishop of New York, which leads more than 2 million Catholics, bitterly opposed the legislation, arguing it could bankrupt the church. But after the vote passed, the New York State bishops issued a statement saying, "We pray that the passage of the Child Victim Act brings some measure of healing to all survivors by offering them a path of recourse and reconciliation." The legislation now recognises that child sexual abuse is an evil not just limited to one institution, but a tragic societal ill that must be addressed in every place it exists. It has taken 15 years of hard work by survivors and advocates trying to get around a stiff opposition from the Catholic bishops and the insurance industry, and is a step in the national conversation. Michael Polenberg of Safe Horizon, a victim assistance non-profit organisation that helped to work to pass the law, said, "The legislation now recognises that child sexual abuse is an evil, not just limited to one institution, but a tragic societal ill that must be addressed in every place it exists. It has taken 15 years of work by survivors and advocates trying to get around the stiff opposition from the Catholic bishops and the insurance industry, and is a step forward in the national conversation." It's important to note here that there are 8 other states that are considering similar legislation. The idea behind the law is that many victims of child sexual abuse who have kept it secret for years now have a chance by law to reclaim their dignity. Okay, so you just heard that story that I shared with you there about the Child Victims Act in New York being passed by legislation on August the 14th. I can't explain to you how excited I am to hear this news. I've been doing this now for nearly 10 years, trying to support and help survivors, speaking out for other survivors who don't have a voice. And it always seems to be one thing after another, one setback after another. If we don't have people making up stories and saying they were abused, that comes out in the press, that does untold damage to the movement for survivors. Stories of victims that are just going through sexual abuse. We have facts and figures and research that's showing that a lot of sexual abuse is on the rise. No real awareness. You know, it just seems like it's just always bad news after bad news all the time. So I was so excited to come across this story. And, you know, it is a huge deal, even though it is in one state in New York at the moment. You know, in other states, they're looking to make this go across 8 other states in America. Now, I know I think there are 66 states in America. There might even be more than that. You know, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Everything starts with one small victory. And Stephen Jimenez, you know, for 15 years, him and a small team of other survivors and lawmakers and other people had fought the Catholic Church for 15 years, not just the Catholic Church, but also the insurance industry. To get to this day, it is a huge deal. Now, you know, there's some things from this story that I just want to quickly sum up and pick out. You know, I really am really pleased about this news, because even though it's over in New York, it is going to have an effect for other survivors around the world. So as we already know, with the Roman Catholic Church, you know, time and time again, they refuse to really see the seriousness of the paedophilia problem that they have in their church. Now, I'm not just singling out the Roman Catholic Church, but we have to admit the Roman Catholic Church has become synonymous with paedophiles and child sexual abuse. It's been embedded and ingrained in their history and culture of doing things for God knows, even before the 60s, even 40s, even before that. The fact that they can think they can offer a little prayer to the survivors and victims of crimes that happened in their church. When I read some of the stories that the victims had gone through at the hands of the Roman Catholic Church and their handling of that situation was absolutely disgusting and appalling. The cardinal, or whatever his name is, Timothy Dolan, he was complaining the reason why they opposed it for over 15 years, for so long, is because they love to pay their money. And all I've got to say to that is good. At the end of the day, this is what matters to these organisations and churches. They're doing very, very wicked things to other people, to survivors and victims. They do untold damage, not only to them mentally and physically, but also to them spiritually. And I'm glad they're getting hit in the pocket where it hurts. I hope that many of them come forward. And you know, it's not just the Roman Catholic Church. We have the Jehovah's Witness organisation, another organisation that seems to think they can bury things under the carpet. We also have the Yeshiva centres in the Jewish communities. There's somebody I follow on Twitter named Manny Wax, who is an advocate for Jewish victims. He himself was sexually abused in one of these schools. It's going to be really interesting how all these secret communities now deal with allegations of sexual abuse, because what they like to do is to bury things under the carpet. And I'm not speaking out here on behalf of any church. I don't back for any church at all. I am a Christian. My relationship is completely just between me and Jesus, and that is it. I'm not affiliated with any church. I don't stick up for none of them, because I see time and time again, not just in the Roman Catholic Church, Pentecostal, Church of England churches, where survivors have come to me for support and heard their appalling stories, how they are treated. So maybe now they are going to be hit in the pocket for practices, for not doing the right thing, using clergy law or using their religious laws to say, okay, we can't name anybody that comes to us in confession. If a priest comes and confesses to us in confession, I can't say nothing because I'm bound by religious law. You know, all that they're going to have to rethink, because at the end of the day, this is what allows sexual abuse to thrive, is the secrecy. And in these secret organisations, like I've mentioned, sexual abuse is rampant. As a matter of fact, even since this law has come to pass, I've read that already people are seeking out legal advice and help how to go forward with their case of sexual abuse that has happened in this church. I'm glad that they've acknowledged that it can take survivors of childhood sexual abuse many years to be able to even acknowledge what has even happened to themselves first, let alone disclose. Recently, I shared on one of my Facebook posts by a guy named Eddie Kedge, where he shared from his own research, he himself being a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, it can take 20 years for a survivor to disclose. You know, and some survivors, if you think about it, when we think about the facts and figures of childhood sexual abuse, they are only statistics and facts that are gone on from people who have come forward from collating other information. There are millions all over the world that haven't come forward and even tell their story, and many more who take it to their grave. It's good that they've acknowledged this, because they are acknowledging that it can have psychological effects on the survivor of childhood sexual abuse. So this is a fantastic development. And you know, I love that saying, I'm sorry, I'm just being silly, victims over predators. You know, we should make t-shirts with that on, actually, you know, because I just think that is so powerful, that the law in that state has decided, the lawmakers and politicians in that state are deciding to put children over predators, victims over predators. It makes me so happy to hear this, because for too long in society, it's always predators over victims, predators over survivors. They lead a cushy life, whether it's in families, they go from place to place abusing children. If a survivor, a victim tries to speak out, you know, you're ostracized or rejected, like I was and many others were. For too long, predators have had it easy. For too long, not just in families but in institutions, they've gone from place to place. Remember what I told you in the Justice for Oshana video? I told you that predators, your time is up. And now it's given the statutes and limitations have gone in these states in America, in New York, not in all states, but in New York State and hopefully in many more. It will allow the survivor time to be able to come forward, get the justice, or to sue for damages, not just against the perpetrator, but also against the organisation where this perpetrator was allowed to reside. No wonder the insurance industry was having a field day and annoyed at this legislation. Another great thing about this child victim law, it means that now that All these organisations, churches, Boy Scouts, organisations that think that they can just do what they want, they don't have to apply any safeguarding in their environment, that they can just feel that they can deal with things in-house and not take it to the police because they feel that religious law covers them, they're now going to be forced to have to get their house in order. They're not going to be able to hide. Who's going to want to carry a paedophile or somebody in their organisation knowing that it's going to be a liability for them? Because as we heard from the good cardinal himself, they don't want to be hit in the pockets, right? You know how rich the Roman Catholic Church is. They don't want to be hit in the pockets. None of these organisations want to be hit in the pockets. There are two things that these people fear most: being hit in the pockets and their precious reputation. That's all they care about. They don't care about souls. They don't care about people. They don't care about the damage that sexual abuse causes. They just care about their good name. So it's going to force them to now take heed and to get their house in order and stop hiding these people in their midst. I just want to take a moment out to appreciate the work that Stephen Jimenez has done over there in Albany. You know, he himself was a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. It couldn't have been easy for him. It's not easy for anybody to go through sexual abuse. Women and men go through it and it affects them in different ways. And for him as a male survivor to be able to go through that and to just find his voice and then to be able to help other people, what a blessing he is, you know. And 15 years, he never gave up the fight. I wonder what it must have felt for him on that day to finally see that legislation come through after all the battles him and his team went through with the Roman Catholic Church and the insurers and everything to get this law passed. I think he's an extremely brave man, and I feel inspired listening to his story and listening to his journey, because it also encourages me to carry on. It's not easy to try and stand in the gap and tell people about the things that are going on, but it is encouraging to see people like Stephen speaking up and doing the things that he's doing. It may seem like a small thing to other people, but it's a huge thing to those of us who have been through sexual abuse. That one ripple is going to have an effect worldwide, because people are now going to be watching that unfold, predators, victims and organisations alike, and things are going to be really moving in a different direction. There's power in numbers, there's power in speaking out. It is how the battle is won. So that is it for this video. Please also see the website www.daughterarise.org.uk to see the work that we're doing over here in London, you know, and please hit the subscribe button, share these videos, and I shall see you on the next one. Take care.